Okay. We're holding Siman Reish Tzadik Zayin. We started last week. So we're holding Se'iv Vav.
Page Shin Chav Gimel.
Page Shin Chav Gimel, yeah. Yesh Emrim, that those that say Shemitzvah Lavarich, B'Mitzvah Shabbos Aladash Shal Mitzvah, that it's a mitzvah to make a Matzah Shabbos on a Das Shal Mitzvah.
What's the Dash mitzvah that they use it in the
That you use it in Sukkot. Shehil Shanasa B'Mitzvah, because we already used it for a mitzvah, Yesh Lasa B'Mitzvah Cheres, you should use the second mitzvah. This is a principle that's brought in the Gemara. The Gemara says that Rabbi Rabasi took the Eidav that they made. The Rashi says it's talking about Eidav Chatzeris. And they said, since we made already one mitzvah with it, let's make another mitzvah with it, neat with it, the Suda of Shabbos.
Is there any to eat after this bread on the second day of it?
So the Alter Rebbe brings it also by Eid of Tafshilin.
Right.
The only difference is that the Alter Rebbe says that when it comes to Eid of Tafshilin, you should put it on the table Friday night, or the Yom Tov night, and by the day, or if it's Shabbos, and you should eat it by Suda Shlishis. By Eid of Tafshilin. We're talking Shabbos, and it's the Eid of Tafshilin, right? But Eid of Chatzedis, you eat it to Shabbos morning meal. The Rebbe has a beautiful explanation what's the difference. But these are, be it as it may, there is a concept of hold the avid by mitzvah choda mitzvah and avid by mitzvah chritiv. Rabbi said we already did one mitzvah with this bread. We made Eid of Chatzedis, we made Eid of Tafshilin. Yet use this loaf of bread as the lechem mishnah in the Suda Shabbos.
Why don't we use the week from the Hanukkah Menach Havdalah? You already did a mitzvah.
Good question. It's not practical. How you gonna we make a shayva with it? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna do it?
That's comfortable to you.
Right. Vavo bishu yavish, even if he's dry. Even if he's dry, I don't care. Even if he's dry. A little bit there is a smell, so you should use it.
It's not the minhag. Nobody does.
Right. I thought I'm sure
Others say it's better to use other besomim because the main reich is there. Than to use a das yovish that has nothing but a little bit of a reich. That they don't use the hadas because it's yovish, because it gets dried out. There's, according to one explanation by Yosef, there is no machlokes. The Torah brings that Rabbi Ephraim used to say, I don't do this thing, he says.
because he has no smell.
Elo yeshli kufsa ktana. I have schuchis ktana. I have a small glass little jar. And over here I have fresh besomim, and I use that for, like, he invented the besomim box. Rabbi Ephraim from the Balei HaTosfos. So one of the earlier Rishon Shalos Tshuvas, the Marik Kulon, writes that and the Beis Yosef brings that that if it was a adas shoita, it was a bad adas, but if it was a good adas, everyone agrees to use it. But the Rabbi Avrami Prague and the Bach and the Ramo bring no.
But that's right. You don't use it in Sukkot.
No, but they used they used to use it as a filler.
Oh.
Because they didn't have adasim. Now in Ashkenaz they didn't have, but the others say that the machlokes is always. That's why he didn't talk. We didn't talk in a case of adas shoita. He's talking every adas to him is called adas shoita. He's like a shoita, like you say a shota, the fool, right? What do you? Since you guys are a bunch of fools, you're using take a fresh, good besomim. What are you using this dried out stuff? What are you using? Yeah, what are you using this old stuff, dried out stuff? That's what he's saying. What's the machlokes? So according to this, what's the machlokes? So it come out that the machlokes is like this. There is something special we say, because I already did one mitzvah, I should use it for a second mitzvah. On the other hand, but now when I'm using it for the second mitzvah, I'm not using, I'm supposed to use good besomim. I'm losing, right. So that's maybe the machlokes. Rebbe Ephraim said, when do you say that when you use one mitzvah, you should do another mitzvah? If you get a second mitzvah, it's going to be as beautiful. But if it's not going to be beautiful, no, that's the machlokes. So I would say that maybe it's an afkamina also to the story of the bread. Do you, in your house, do you use always the Eid of Tafshilin in the Shabbos meal? I haven't seen so many people that are medayik. Alter Rebbe brings it.
We're using it.
Yeah, you use it.
Erev Tafshilin for the second day.
Yeah, you use it?
Usually.
Yeah. Supposed to use it.
So that's we eat in shul usually. 90%.
So I'd say like this. Maybe you could say such a svara. If you have a nice big fat challah that's fresh, or Erev Tafshilin, they usually use a little matzah or something. You know, you're not using a very fancy. So now, which one is better to use?
That's why the first one is for the.
What is better? What is better to use? I would say maybe the same achloikas that here would be also there. There is a general rule that already did one mitzvah, should use it for a second mitzvah. Okay, but now, how about now? If I'm going to use the other one, it's not going to be so nice. The mitzvah, it's small, it's dry, it's not so beautiful. But I have something else that's delicious, it's fat and big and fresh. What should I use better, the new one or the old one?
But you made the bracha and the matzah and the old one. You cannot take a new challah, beautiful fat. The bracha was on this particular
That's
eggs
what I'm
and
saying.
matzah.
You don't. Well, who says you have to use this? You used it for Eid of Tafshilin.
Okay.
The Rebbe said, because I already used this bread for Eid of Tafshilin, let me use it for Sudash Lishit.
Okay.
Yeah? But now for Sudash Lishit, I have a big fat fresh challah. Which one is better to use? The big fat fresh challah, or to use that matzah that I made for the Eid of Tafshilin? I would say maybe this is the same machloikis. One opinion says, big fat fresh challah is better.
You do mitzvah.
The mitzvah, okay, but now you could do like a mishnah by Hishal Shudas on a big fat fresh challah. Use a big fat fresh challah. And the other opinion will say, no. Since oil v'avad v'echad mitzvah and avad v'etzachirit is more important because I already did one mitzvah, even though it's a matzah, it's not so fancy, but I already did one mitzvah. Use this again. I would say that would be the same achloikis. Says the Alter Rebbe, what's the bottom line? We should put a little bit of adasim into the besomim box. When you make a brocha, or you're going to make b'rei depending on what you're putting in the box. So the bottom line is, whatever it is, it's going to be thrown into the box. You should smell from both. And this way he does like everyone. I asked my brother to ask Rabbi Halberstam what was the Rebbe's in the Rebbe's besomim box. So he said, I don't know. Ask your brother to text me the question. I'll take the besomim, I'll put it on the table, and I'll take a picture, and I'll email it to him. But I keep on thinking I'll do it, but I'm wondering if they actually had Hadassim. Yeah, if they had Hadassim in the Rebbe's besomim box.
Is it a big box? Or
it was a big box. Very big box. Big. There's also reasons at Pikabola. Why we should use Hadassim, and there's in the Zoya. We have here the Zoya Lashon Kodesh, that beautiful translation. He says that a person has an Neshama Yisrael on Shabbos, and that's why Oines Tamid Chachamim is on Shabbos. Why? Because so why? He says that Hadassim, the Zoya says in Pashas Vayakol Beferish that the Shodesh of the Neshama, where the Neshama Yisrael comes from, is from a place called Hadassim, and therefore a person should use Hadassim.
I thought because the 3 leaves come from one place, so it's, you know, Shabbos, Yom.
Last week I mentioned also from the Zayd of the Chidah that says that no gulavarach aladas, and he says even if it's an initial mitzvah, because the pasuk says tachas asir padyal aladas, and he said that Arizal said that there has to be a meshulish because it's connected nefesh ruach neshama, because neshama, right.
The extra,
Right.
the neshama.
Right, but it's even more. As I'm saying, I looked it up today in the Zohar. Zohar Pashas Vayakel. The Zohar has a whole arichas, and after Reb Abba said this whole drosh, it says that Reb Abba got up and the Chavrai Kedisha kissed him on his forehead, and they said, "Wow, it was zeichach to be mechadish as chadushim." He said mefurish in the Zohar that you're supposed to use adasim.
We find out about who is those. He was dancing in front of the color. He was dancing with Adasim.
Right.
So what's his name? I forgot the name.
Shmuel Barachmani.
What?
So
Remember his name? Nice name.
But to show you, after with Adasim, you could find any branch. No. Obviously, with Adasim.
the Zohar says it's mefurish in the Zohar in Pashas Vayakel.
Yosef is Nachmani ben Shmuel.
Nothing. Okay, so
Close.
we'll be
Now you remember.
full man.
Calls him Nachem. So Nachem is Nachmani.
So it's mefurish in the Zohar HaKodesh that there is
Jokos Taka. For the cabin.
Even my grandchild did it.
So it's mefurish in Nister that there is a special inyan of using, as I said, the Zohar, and from the Arizal, and there's a smach from the Posuk. The Api Nister, there's a thing. But the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring, as we spoke about this last week, it doesn't bring the reason Api Nister. The Alter Rebbe only brings the reason Api Nigla, which is, because you already did one mitzvah, use it for a second mitzvah. What's the difference between the reason Api Nigla and Api Nister? As we spoke about this last week, there would be 3 nafkaminas. If you say that the reason is Api Nigla, so Oibazoi, a hadas, which is not from mitzvah. I just bought a fresh hadas. So Api Nigla, there's nothing special with the hadas. But Api the Zohar, because the hadasim come from the shores of the neshama, comes from a place of hadasim, and the hadasim of a shaykh is the neshama. So what's the difference if it's hadas mitzvah or not? You can also have an opposite nafkamina. What if I have a fresh esrig 2 weeks after Sukkot?
It's not better than the Adasim.
Yeah.
No?
So if you say hoil v'sava b'chad mitzvah navid b'mitzvah chaliti already did one mitzvah do another mitzvah, so esrig is just as good. But if you say it has to do with the sherish and neshama like the Zohar Pashas Vayakel, so then there's nothing special with the esrig. The third thing is that we just said there's machloikas Rabbeinu Ephraim and the other Balei HaTosfos. When that das is a little dry, what's better? The concept of hoil v'sava b'chad mitzvah navid b'mitzvah chaliti, to use it as another mitzvah, or do this mitzvah with something which is fresh. So, but that's only a question if you're talking the reason Api Nigla. But if you were talking the reason Api Nister, then versteht sich, it's always better to use the das shal mitzvah. The Alter Rebbe only brings the reason Api Nigla. As we spoke about this last week, we had this beautiful sikha where the Rebbe talks about the fish, right? The Api Nister, he brings in the Siddur that there's a special thing to eat fish on Suda Shabbos. But Api Nigla, the Alter Rebbe says in the first seminar of Shabbos in the Kuntas Achron, that if they go and hike up the prices of fish,
Don't eat it.
that the G'dayla Ir are obligated to make a takona that for a few weeks no Jew buys any fish till they go and bring down the price. The Alter Rebbe says because ain't shum tam al the what's it called that you have to have the dogim dafka. Where's the dafka dogim? You can have instead of dogim, you can have I don't know. You can have alfalfa. You can have tofu. What's enough? Chopped liver, what to say?
Maybe
It's in the shows going to the fish.
the
That's not
the
the
minhag
Nigla.
to eat fish because we want Latid Lavot to eat from the Leviathan. So we have to have
Ain't no
Shabbat.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but we
No,
also,
the
but
point
there's also love. There's also going to be a short abad.
So you eat basar v'dokim. Basar.
So that's an afkamina between the tam Api Nigla and Api Nissa. But as I said here in the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe only brings the tam Api Nigla, and therefore the Alter Rebbe is medayik, and he says Yeshem Mitzvah Lavaru Mitzvah Shabbos Aladas Shal Mitzvah. Only Aladas Shal Mitzvah is the machloik. Is the first opinion says Sha'oil V'Nasa Mitzvah Achas Shalasu Mitzvah Cheres because he already did one mitzvah, even though it's a little bit dry, but fourth you have the mila that it was already did one mitzvah. And the other opinion says it's better to smell the other besomim than to make a brocha on das yovish. But you see that the whole thing was adash mitzvah. But if you got fresh adasim, no, the Alter Rebbe is not talking about. Then there's nothing special about it. That's only if you're going to use that adasim.
So better to smell a old adas that you make a brocha on it,
Right.
than a fresh adas.
Then he says, it's good to put a little bit of the das, mix it up. So therefore, I mean, most of us keep the lulav because there's a minig that is brought in the in Agos Harmonious that you keep the lulav and you use it as wood to burn the chametz. So most of us have it somewhere in the house. So you can open up the bag where you have it and take out a few leaves of that dasim and put it into your besomim box. But it's not going to help to take fresh adasim because that's not the point. The point was because you have to take the ones that you use for mitzvah, not even if you can buy fresh ones. That's not the Kabbalah, yeah, but the reason that the Alter Rebbe brings it as the Alter Rebbe is medayik. It's only a das shal mitzvah.
What's Esther's second name was?
Hadas.
So why in Purim we don't?
Why
make
mit
a
ben
bracha-
hadasim?
Why we don't make a bracha on Hadas and Purim?
Good question.
I think it would be very
The old
appropriate.
minig, as I mentioned it last week, brought
Adasa or adas?
all the old
That's
in all the old like say the Pidyon Ben, say the Bris Milah. It was always that they used to bring hadasim and they used to break b'yat of summon. It was in the part of the standard thing for Bris Milah. It was a standard thing for a Pidyon Ben. They used to bring hadasim.
So today, Sfardim shul, Friday night, you bring adasim. It's a normal thing. You come into the shul, and the bimah is a big,
And then they give it to
and then you
everybody.
take it.
Because they have a Masoida. For many years, the Ashkenazim had nothing but potatoes and some cabbage, whole winter.
It's not only some, they had some and some, I forgot the leaf. It was very, some meat, yeah.
Sfaradim with the kupa, when they make
We have
the
it.
brachot, one of the brachot is the brocha besomim.
Right.
Adding up,
Minef samim, minef samim, minef samim.
No, but look, they make the bracha under the chuppah, the kohen.
Oh,
or
you're
the
talking
rabbi.
about when somebody gets married?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the same way they put the talit and make a bracha.
Right.
The same way
What is it a mitzvah if someone said hadas in the Havdalah and they made a brain name? So those so now considered
Mixing it up.
official mitzvah?
Mixing it up, and that's beautiful.
No. You just take a hadas and multi Shabbos after. Let's say this: someone makes Havdalah and makes a brain and someone on hadas. Is that now?
It depends on the next sif that we're going to learn in the following sif. The
Right.
machloikis,
Right. So
if
he doesn't
that's
have hadas
considered
from the lulav, you can use these hadas and that someone made a Havdalah on.
right, but that's depending on the next sif.
Oh.
Next sif is a machloikis. It is considered a bechtanen and bechtametzvus. So the concept
By
of
the Dalaminim, it's considered.
it's a mitzvah, a mitzvah. Same thing like Erev Chetzeres,
But
Erev
it
Tefillin.
has less chashivas maybe than his hadas that they made Havdalah on because you didn't make a direct bracha on the hadas and by the Dalaminim. But here you made a direct bracha on it during Havdalah.
Yeah, but if you say it's bechtanen, it's not a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah here.
Well,
Erev
it's part of it.
Tefillin, Chazal.
There's a mitzvah. Not during Yom Kippur, right? But I'm saying, but during Havdalah, it's a mitzvah to make Havdalah. I'm saying that. Right. So even though it's the bracha itself is bechtanen, but it's part of the mitzvah of Havdalah.
So maybe, and that's what it will be chshivas, but not as big as a chshivas
From
as the
Dalaminim.
Ma'al Minim.
Okay, but if you say that it's a mitzvah, then maybe it is because it's more direct than the Dalaminim, where you're not making a very you're making
No, but still,
Hamlet
that
Faslu.
even if it's a mitzvah, this is a mitzvah that Rabbanon. But the mitzvah of the Dal Minim is a mitzvah deraisa.
right, true, but it's not it's only a chelik of the mitzvah, not the real mitzvah. It's not a
And
mitzvah.
it has to do with the smell a little bit for two reasons. Number
It
one,
won't be yotzeh. You won't be yotzeh.
no, and because
There's
the Chazal say right that there's four
Right.
types of Yidden, and then the Gemara says you're not allowed also to smell the adasim on because it's hooked to the mitzvah. The
Correct.
smell is hooked to the mitzvah.
Right.
By the esrog,
Also,
it's a complicated, it's a huge machloikis a poskim because
No.
you're allowed to smell it, but you're allowed to make a brocha. Well, no, it's a shayla if you're allowed to make a brocha. So it's a suffix in the brocha, so therefore we don't smell it. But the adasim is a vada that the Gemara
Not even allowed to
says,
smell.
yeah, not allowed to smell even. So you see that it is okay, but maybe if you say that it is a mitzvah to have, so the rizach shivas in reusing, in other words, from week to week to use the last one.
Right.
So if I could buy fresh ones every week, obviously after a while they don't have a good smell. You have to change them.
Also, we say it's a mitzvah to be mevarach mea brachas on Shabbos. That's the lashon, right? Mitzvah. No, mea brachas every day.
Chayiv adam.
Every day to make mea brachas. It's a mitzvah. So on Shabbos we make extra brachas so that you should be yotzei. So it has a special chashivas to hadasim. So maybe that hadasim made on Shabbos became a mitzvah.
But the mitzvah wasn't for these adasim. You could if you like sandwich cookies, you could mashal the brachas of the sandwich cookies.
And Chanami,
That is
they're
a
not here
hefzer.
anymore. But then they're gone. Hadasim stayed.
Why they don't take anything about the effort? They all talking about the smell of the adasim.
I think the
That's-
pshat is
that's
because
also
esrog doesn't last so long. Esrog a few
Once
weeks
it's
later,
dried, that's it.
yeah. Mashenk and adasim stay for
Stay long time.
much longer.
Except for Chaim's office, that's what we still so straight.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow.
And you look fresh.
No. That was a month ago.
Maybe it's injected every time.
No. I had one side next year, it look fresh.
My Mechut sister has an essay from her Shvei who passed away 27 years ago.
It still look good.
She put in.
Like she put in
He
the
did,
clothes.
actually, he did. And it still smells delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still have.
Yeah, for 30 years. She's using it. Maybe more than 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's dried up and it's
Right
in
up
there.
in there,
The clothes
and it
and
has a schmackes fresh smell. I smelled it
Ah.
like 3 years ago.
wow,
Every month. Yeah, I don't know what to shot.
that's amazing.
Charge money, somebody wants to smell it. $5.
She does. She's rich.
Ruchnis
She
is
has a
very.
son, and the son-in-law, so she's rich.
If you look at the beginning of the Agodah Shel Pesach of the Rebbe, there's a little story up there about what the Alter Rebbe had. A story about the Baal Tshuva who gave him a snuff box, and then he separated, the cover from the
That's
thing,
a break,
and he used it right. One of the things it says there, it says, "Hoye lo l'Rabbeinu Hazaken hadas shenoson lo yamagid amatonu from Rebbeinu Baal Shem Tov midvereach lo kalavonu." These are the words.
Wow.
So every year when I read it, I wonder, what does it mean? He got a hadas from the Magid, a matana from the Baal Shem Tov, with a verech l'kalavonu. We talking about physical hadas, or we talking about some piece? Like today, like you have in the Judaic, like you have made out of gold or silver or glass. Like what is he talking about?
What's the lesson again?
The lashon was Hoyel Rabbeinu Hazaken hadas shenoson lo harav Magid. Amatona from Rebbe, Habal Shem Tov, mit vereach loy kalavona.
What does that mean, the last line?
With a smell that had like vereach, it's a lashon pasuk, vereach loy kalavona, that he had in
Well, they were saying it was geschmack smell.
shmaka smell.
So,
Why shouldn't it be?
meaning, even if it's dry and old, it still smells good.
Right.
That's what I think. I think that's the pshat.
Yeah.
I'm just, now that I'm going to sugya, that's what it means. It means it was a pella. The Baal Shem Tov was an Oilama Emes, who knows how many years already. The Baal Shem Tov gave it to Magid, Magid gave it to the Alter Rebbe, and it still had a reach loy kalavonen. It's a pafla of a fella. Like the story of the Baal Shem Tov, the Rebbe says, when he used to daven, he used to become so alive that his tzitzis would start shaking as if they were themselves alive. The Rebbe tells the Ma'aser.
Also, there's blood on the siddur of the Baal Shem Tov. In 770, they have the Baal Shem Tov siddur, and there's a page by Shema Shalenu, and there's blood.
Right,
The
right.
Rebbe said it came out of his eye.
Right.
You have to give this puzzle, mama.
What they let sit. Listen, they let
Should be
sit
happy
about
to
Shem
hear
Tov.
Except it's not
No,
Hadassah.
not now. But by the way, now there's a beautiful display. Till Yud Aleph Nisan. It's 150. No, this year they made for 6 months. You have to go if you want to make it.
Okay.
There is from Yud Gimel Tishrei till Yud Gimel Nisan. There's a display upstairs of all kinds of kisvei yad of the Tzemach Tzedek. There is a sleeve of a jacket of the Tzemach Tzedek. There's all kinds of
A
things.
few yarmulkes over there. I thought it's
You
What
were
about
there?
his shofar? What about his shofar? Is the
the only
shofar?
one.
The shofar, I don't know if it's on display, but it's going to be on for another 2 months, and then it's finished. If you get a chance, go around. It's,
There was like 3 amukes.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there before.
Beautiful.
so
I
it's,
know the Baal Shem Tov had
Did he have a Strymon?
gingy air because the Rebbe had air in the cedar from the Baal Shem Tov, and it was inside gingy.
Stayed red.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And money.
He has a hair from the Rebbe.
yeah.
Why do you think
You're not
Flatbush
telling
is
you?
growing? Why do you think what's giving chayes to Flatbush? He has a street for them, and he has, and Rabbi has stuff from the
Well,
with
the
the
vest.
hair.
The vest, right?
No, the gatkis, pants, like pajama pants, not pajama pants. When it's cold, it's,
Yeah.
you know,
The white one that you put underneath the pants.
yeah.
What's
You
that?
keep it in a secret place in the house.
No, he announces on his mailbox where it is.
You have guys to clean the house, you know, over there they could use
Nah,
money.
No.
nah, it's not. It's
It's
not.
heating
It's in a
so
box.
Yeah. So it's more addictive. That's the pshat. That's the pshat because usually adas becomes dried up, but by the Baal Shem Tov, adas shal mitzvah that gave so much chayes into his mitzvahs
Still now it smells good.
that that's a pshat that in makusha tzaddik. So then we say sometimes chas v'shalom, a person or situation, it stinks, right? But if you're makusha tzaddik, so then you start to get a good smell. That's a pshat. The Gemara says, "Asidin abachuri Yisrael sheyitnu reach tov kalavonon." It's the Gemara in brachas. That's why he said v'reach lo kalavonon. It says Laws of Havdalah. Every yid is going to smell good. Every yid is going to shmek so beautiful that you could say on the yid v'reach lo kalavonon. The Baal Shem Tov was mamshech such a chayis to his tzitzis, to his hadasim, that years later, Poshet his hadasim smells.
Use that and
Okay. Weiter. Siv Zayin. Mi she'ein einena mereach, she'ein lechut shereach. A person can't smell. Can't smell. Lo yevarech al besomim. He shouldn't make a brocha on the besomim. Shema Havdalah. When he makes Havdalah. Elam ken es kavan loitzav b'nei beis haktanim ha'marichim shegir kvar lechinuch brochas. Yeah. Page Shin Chav Gimel. Last sif on the page. Again. Mi she'ein einena mereach, she'ein lechut shereach. He can't smell. Lo yevarech al besomim. Shema Havdalah. Shouldn't make a brocha by the men of besomim. Elam ken es kavan loitzav b'nei beis haktanim ha'marichim shegir kvar lechinuch brochas. Unless he has a mind to be moitzi the children, the little kids, because he has to give them chinuch. He can't make a brocha for the adults. Even if they can't make their own brocha. It's a birchas anenin, and the rule is birchas anenin. Person, if he's not having an oil, he can't make a bracha for another person. That over there you don't say Kol Yisrael Arevim Zebazeh. The only time you say Kol Yisrael Arevim Zebazeh, I can make a bracha for another Yid, is only by mitzvahs. But Birchas Anenin, I can't. I could make.
Wait till the Rebbe didn't make a burning in the time.
Right.
which Rebbe?
That there was a few years where the Rebbe didn't.
By
Yeah.
Rebbe stopped smelling the sun?
Yeah, I told it over I think 2 weeks ago from the Kuntes Iskashrus. It comes out now. It's all a few years ago with an article from Rav Zelickson. A few years that the Rebbe didn't smell psalm.
No, he made the brocha and didn't smell?
He didn't make a bracha, nothing.
That's
He
probably
went
his
straight to
nose.
Bero
Yeah. That's what Zelickson said. And they asked. Rav Zelickson says that there was all of a sudden there was a whole Avereche B'Yiras Hashem. Mashiach, there were all kinds of pshatim going around. I bet they heard that someone, B'Shas Ma'aser, the Rebbe said that he has stuffed nose, so he couldn't smell.
But still, when he started making pilpulim.
Yeah.
That was like the story of the guy who
Right, the Rebbe Rashab.
Oh, Rebbe Shab?
Yeah.
Also they say that by Rav Shalom and Rabbi too.
Yeah, and he said, it's a poshet because it's softer.
By the time of Rebbe, he was once caught in the middle of a minor. He was saying over during Rav and the Rav. He was saying over a minor. He started to cough. The son gave him a handkerchief. He said, "Yes, they hit that." No, I don't get it, but I mean, he says in the Olam Hatzilas they don't have that thing handkerchiefs. He said they don't cough either. They were very sharp. The
Yeah.
It was Melave Marka, and Feinstein was there. And milk, like they're bringing coffee and milk, So it was 2 containers of milk, and he took from this milk, he did not take from this one.
Cholestam, right? It was Cholestam.
No,
Both of them are
wait.
story.
He
Listen
said
to the
so,
story.
last time also, I love it.
Listen to the story. So, few days later, this guy that he did not drink from his milk start losing his pants. People that doesn't buy his milk because Feinstein drank from the other milk. So I mean, this milk is not kosher. So he came to him, the owner. Said, "What happened?" He said, "I picked up your container, was empty, so I took the other one." And people already made assumption that this is not kosher. You have to watch so much, and we start losing the parnasa,
People also said that Moshe Feinstein drank that he was matir Cholestam. They said he was matir, but he once drank by accident Cholestam. They said, Moshe, it's Cholestam. He put his finger down all the way and he spit up it all up.
Let's continue here. So next, turn the page Shin Chav Daled. Vein dem lebich zayin shel kiddush.
Didn't want to eat meat that I said it all right. That
With a suffix on it.
no. When this cow was born, the mother died. So the guy took the cow and gave the pig to
Nurse.
yeah,
Wow.
exactly. And then continue going. So the shchita was kosher, the cow was kosher, everything.
Wow.
The Mufedek knew that something smelled.
Inside, yeah.
Didn't smell good, huh?
Didn't smell good, yeah.
Vein lebich zayin shel kiddush. You can't compare it to Beir Pidagaf from kiddush. Shigam can bich zanan, even though it's a Beir Pidagaf and it's a bich of anoah. Afal pichin yochel mishain and then levorich. Even though I'm not planning to drink wine, I can make a brocha Beir Pidagaf for someone else. Fishayin shel kiddush ain't a tell about else klal. It has nothing to do with hanoah. The reason Chazal said to have kiddush is nothing to do with pleasure. They didn't say you should make kiddush in order for me to have pleasure. Because we have to exalt Shabbos and to remember Shabbos on a kos yain. So therefore, even though l'chayda wine Beir Pidagaf is nanin, but we say here it's considered a mitzvah. Just like a moitzi lechem and aretz matzah is also a mitzvah. So if you're going to go do a public seder, so you could make all the brachas. You can make all the brachas. It's very important to know when you go on shlichus.
Now they teach already the book.
You go. So you start saying in brachas. Sometimes people don't know. You can make aloud the bracha. Everyone says amen, and that's it. Even though you're not making the seder right now. You're not making the seder right now. You're going to make the seder later.
Especially if you make the seder, so it's okay.
Oh, if you make the seder, it's okay. I used to go for many years. I used to the second night of Pesach. I used to walk a place that was a place we used to get like 50, 60 Russians used to come, families, used to make a seder.
Was to teach them how to make a seder.
No, it was a real seder, yeah, it was a real seder. And I used to walk, it was like a half hour from my house, I used to make the seder for them. And then I used to make all the brachas, everything. I used to leave him off by appointment and give him instructions what to do. I used to come home. I used to come home like 12 o'clock, and we used to start the seder then. Because second night it's not a problem. Our minhag is to right. I used to make all brachas for them. They didn't know anything. You start making it. It's not gonna. You make the bracha. Everyone says amen. Kiddush. You're gonna say how these people know nothing. 50 people. How are you gonna make everyone say kiddush? It doesn't make sense. The only way to do it is to make the whole bracha. But you're allowed to. Because kol yisrael arevim zeh b'zeh. There's one yid, 50 yid in here that didn't make the seder. So I didn't make the seder, so I have to make the bracha for them. It's called bichas hanen. No, it's called bichas mitzvah.
You know what to remind me? Years ago, but maybe 25 years ago, I had a seder in my house, I had about 50, 60 people. A friend of my wife, she called me and said, can I bring my father-in-law? He's 1940 so. So of course, he's from nursing home, he came with a black lady, sitting in the seder, and we're studying Manishtana. So I said, I'm conducting seder. I said, today we do Manishtana from the old to the young. Usually it starts with a kid. He stood up, he said Manishtana, started crying. All of us were crying. He said, for 60 years I did not say Manishtana.
Wow.
I never forget.
Where was he from?
He's from Europe somewhere, but
Wow.
he not religious, no nothing.
Wow.
But he remember for 60 years ago, Manishtana, he said, and he started crying on the
Wow.
table.
Wow.
Till today, I just look
Wow.
at this picture.
Amazing. Aval besomim mitzvah Shabbos.
Rabbi, can I ask
Yeah,
you a question?
sure.
When you make a brocha for somebody else, so the problem would be levatol, it would be brocha levatol. But isn't this case not merely a brocha and a tzricha, not levatol? Why would it be levatol? Because it's still going on something, right? In other words, if you make a shachol twice, so the second brocha is not levatol, but shen tzricha. So when he makes the brocha for the people, it's not levatol.
Maybe you're right. He didn't say. He said here it's a brocha levatol.
No, I'm just saying that the svara why he shouldn't be allowed, even if he's going to make the seder later on, is the chayr. It's kosher they should be allowed because it's only the rabbanon.
You didn't brocha levatol. Most opinions hold it. No, that's what we're saying. That every time it's birchas mitzvahs, you're allowed to do it for other people. You're allowed to, but not birchas.
Because we say we're arevis. But I'm saying that even if there would be arevis, you'd be allowed to because they're their rights, and they can't. They don't know how to say it.
So you doing it for them.
So that's the pshat. No, but that's I hear what you're saying. But the Rishonim all understand that's the pshat. Don't eat until you go to the chochem. That's what the pshat of the brayso is. That a person who's an amoritz, he should starve. Let him starve until he learns. Yeah. But by a mitzvah, you don't say let him starve, because a mitzvah. What do you mean? If he's not doing the mitzvah, the mitzvah I'm making for myself.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have a time to learn at this point. Saying if the amoritz doesn't know, I mean. He can't. Yeah, I mean that's an amoritz that could learn. This is an amoritz that can't even learn. This is shein dei lishon.
Right. But that's you're asking a good kasha. But that's the way all the Rishonim
learn it up. Right. So arvis.
Because of arvis. The only shaila is if the person. Some Rishonim say even more. It's not arvis. Even if he doesn't know how to do it, I can make it for him. Right. But that we don't do. We only know that we make the brocha for another yid if he doesn't know. Others say even more. Even if he does know, I can make it for him.
When somebody puts feelings for someone.
The only time I think by chuppah, you make a brocha and you give somebody else.
Right, because we don't want to embarrass the chosno might be an
Look
at this. If Anna not embarrassed and willing to make a brocha.
But some people you can't repeat with them. You can't.
I tell you the joke.
What happens if Chas v'shalom a person is sick and they can't speak? They can't speak. You can make the brocha for them.
I told you there was a chuppah. And the Lubavitcher shliach of the guy. Now said it. Arayat Mukodesh is late, you know. The rabbi told me you're going to do everything. The whole ceremony. I'm not. Don't put me on spot.
That's
so cute. That's so funny. So what happened?
He has to follow word by word.
No, but he started. He didn't want to do it.
Arayat Mukodesh is late. It's 2 18 years and Arayat Mukodesh is late.
The rabbi said they would array.
No, he can't because he could say arayat. Repeat after me, arayat. He'll say arayat. Now say this.
He did it. I don't know how to say it.
I think today a lot of places they do it. They just say it word. They say it with them word for word.
I always say latei koketo. When I make a brocha with somebody, like I film on somebody, I say brocha Hashem, then I say God, then I say Eloi, hey, and then nu. So I try not. I don't know why.
If you have an eitzah, you have an eitzah.
But you're allowed.
There you have an eitzah. Aval besomim b'mitzvah Shabbos. If you have besomim matzah Shabbos, lo yinigu chachamim. El b'shvil anhol sa'od and lo hashem nafshe. The whole thing chachamim wanted is a person should have pleasure to bring back his neshama hadoyeves, which feels pain. B'tziyah Shabbos, because Shabbos is going out. But b'chosek shor b'chsanan, there's brachas like every other b'chsanan. So therefore, if you can't smell, if you don't have a sense of smell, you can't make a brocha. And even though you want to make it for others, you can't make it for others. He made Havdalah. He does have Havdalah second time to be moitzi others. They don't know how to make Havdalah. We're not talking about women, because women we already said is a problem, but he's making for other men. He can't make a bracha for the reach. He has to smell again. So his bracha should be for himself and not just for them.
Somebody blind can make a bracha on apple, he doesn't see the apple. The same thing like no smell. cannot do the bracha.
Because you can eat it, you can enjoy the
But you have
eating.
to see what you have in your hand. How you make a bracha if you don't know what it is?
He takes it and he feels it and he smells
How we test it?
Yeah.
Let's make a bracha before you test it.
Let's say he knows.
They're asking a good question. The Magen Avraham asks a similar question. He says the din is that the person could make a blind person could make the brocha every morning of Yotzei Ma'oris. Why? Because even though he can't see, Rahman al-Islam, but other people could see and they can help him. But
I'm not saying another thing that they
helping him.
They can see Yotzei Ma'oris. They help him.
They're helping him. So he says maybe we should say the Magen Avraham asks a similar question to you. Rahman al-Islam, if there's a fire, what saves a person's life? That they smell that there's a fire. Say a person can't smell, but he sees all the other people are running out, he's telling him there's a fire. So the fact that there is the Indian of smell in the world helps him. So then maybe we should make a bracha. The Magen Avraham says that doesn't help, because Chazal said that a person had Nashama Yisera and they're in pain, so the smell is going to make them feel better. But this guy, it's not going to make him feel better because he can't smell anyway, so what's it going to make him feel better? That's what the Magen Avraham asks a similar question to what you asked. In the Rishima Yaman, the Rebbe said that the Rebbe Rayatz told him that his father, the Rebbe Rashab, Hineni zoicha azman she'ama gam bechus hareach, aval achkech posak mipnei kilkul chush hareach. I remember he used to make Boida B'nei Besomim, but then he stopped because he couldn't smell. Also, I found this, that in the Shima of the Rebbe's Zayda used to be very close to the Rebbe Rashab, the Baruch Shalom. And he used to come to Lubavitch, he used to stay in the Rebbe Rashab's house, so he writes there like this. Ba'avdolah hiriach b'lo brocha, v'achekach nosan libiyodei es akli shel besomim.
But he made the bracha?
No, he would take the besomim, he would smell, and not make a bracha. Not make a bracha. So I was wondering like this.
Could he smell? Was he able to smell?
No, obviously in the skull kuchut reach.
So why did he smell?
Oh, that's my shaila. Why did he smell? And obviously it wasn't a suffix. If he had a suffix, if he could smell or not, I think what he would. No, he would have said that Baruch Shalom, you make the bracha, and I'll be yoitza. No, wouldn't that be logical? Elamai, because he smelt it without a bracha, and then he gave it to the Baruch Shalom. He should make a bracha. Why? Because he knew he can't smell. Finish. He can't smell. He can't smell. So why did he smell it? Oh, so maybe it's mashmak to me here a halacha. If you could be medayek a halacha from the Rishima, that even if a person that can't smell, that they shouldn't make bonim and besomim, but they should take the besomim and put it at their nose. But
maybe he did that al schinas.
No, it's neshama, not his
kids.
move.
The
It's
kids, the
neshama.
stomach. Who was making the brother Rashab? The Rebbe Rashab.
the Rebbe Rashab made Havdalah, and then he took the besomim to his nose, and
So
then he gave it to the Baruch Shalom.
Later, he had a lot of people there, so he didn't want to change this. He didn't like that story.
I don't know.
Listen, you say the neshamas, even though the cook couldn't smell, the neshama smells.
Maybe.
That's shvach.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm
I'm
not
not saying that.
saying
No,
that.
no,
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
I'm saying the whole
I rather accept the hasbit about the children than the guf and the neshama.
What's that?
That you're saying that maybe
No,
there
what
was.
you're saying. Let's go for the
I
neshama.
didn't. You.
No, what's the pshat?
I don't know. I'm not saying a
There's
pshat.
no pshat?
I don't know
Like
why.
it?
I don't know why. I'm just saying that the fact is that that's what he did.
Oh.
If obviously he couldn't smell at all, because if he could smell and he had a suffix, if he could smell, he
Right.
would ask the Baruch Shalom to make bonim and besomim
Right.
and be moitzi him. The fact that he didn't means he couldn't smell. That was it. He knew he can't smell, but he still took the besomim back and put it to his nose.
Can I say one other reason? Maybe
Yeah,
why he
let
did
me
it?
hear.
Because it says, "Afilu cherev munach al tzavara shel ben adam hayishayish ben alachmin." So it could be that he was hoping up to the last second that maybe the Eibishter would be mizakin to be able to smell.
Okay, fine.
Maybe when he put it next to his nose.
Yeah. But not better. That's another terror. You're saying a better terror. That maybe that the whole thing would be the gashmias of the reach would be ma'oris, or maybe someone did a chassidish geneva, one of the chassidim, and they took out the besomim, they put hot peppers inside. Maybe he was hoping that maybe someone got smart and he knew the Rebbe Rashab couldn't smell. He says, "Let's put really good peppers in the hot."
Every hezbollah is fine. I don't have a hezbollah. I'm not giving it. I'm just saying. Obviously, if he didn't make a brocha and he didn't ask a Baruch Shalom to be moitzim with a brocha, he couldn't smell, and he still put the besomim at his nose.
Derech haolam.
But the problem is that Rabbi
Soid of
Zelig,
tzaddikim is
Huh?
Soid of tzaddikim.
right? On Haggis of Tzaddikim, you can be medayik. There's no question you can be medayik. Okay, that's it. I'm just bringing up this.
What does it say weiter?
His body didn't smell, but his neshama smell. Why can I say it
Could
like
be.
that?
Could be.
Yeah, that's also a good
Could
shot.
be.
The only thing is, that's why I was going to ask the Rav. If that's the case, then Taka, does the neshama need the guf? In other words, if Einik Shabbos is an Einik, where is it? What's in an Einik to? Is it Einik for the guf or the neshama? When you eat chocolate on Shabbos, you give the mitzvah. Wait a second, but it's a mitzvah, right? Mitzvah
Yeah,
Shabbos.
yeah,
So ultimately, it's also for the neshama.
It's supposed to be only for the neshama, for the guf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
caught, when you
Guf
eat,
needs
you're
also
caught to
the
do mitzvah.
Okay. I didn't give any husband. I just point out that from the story that Rebbe Rashav, it sounds like even if a person who can't have, the Alter Rebbe says, I shouldn't make a brocha. Fine. So the Rebbe Rashav said, you don't make a brocha, but still put the besomim by your nose. That's it. The Alter Rebbe didn't say don't smell it. He says, don't make the brocha, but
But you can smell.
no, you can smell. I have to ask Rabbi Zelig, and I have to really send him an email, because in his story, I told you before that he said a few years that Rebbe didn't smell. So it sounds like he not only didn't make a bracha, but he also didn't even put the besomim to his nose. So I'm not sure.
You're saying, why did he do like that?
Yeah, why
Look
didn't
at the
he do
video.
that?
And this is in the Rebbe's Rishimus.
This is in the Rebbe's Rishimus. This is the Rebbe's Rishimus. Yep. Shimus Hayaman. It's Amid Shin Lamed Beis.
When the Rebbe saw Harav and feared together, even if he couldn't be masber in Nigla, he did it. But maybe because this is not the fear together, I don't know if it's father.
Oh,
Rebbe
it
was
was
doing
told to him. I don't know. I think so. Yeah. He wrote it down. And the Shimus Hayaman means it was something that was valuable. It was like
Did he get this from the fear together?
He says. He told me.
The Rabbi said took him before Rosh Hashanah, before Kiev.
Yeah.
Every certain word is a different thing.
But that's not right. That's because there were things going on in the mind. But what does that have to do with
The
Havdalah?
melody different or
So
the
I'm
word?
saying, there's certain things that Rabbi is doing.
Okay, but such a thing you can't learn. The Rebbe used to take the shmata
Nobody
and the other
nobody
shmata and this.
understands that.
But this is a halacha thing. You can learn. You can learn from it. If the Rebbe writes in the Rishimus that the Rebbe Rashab couldn't smell, but he didn't make a bracha, but he still put the besomim to his nose.
How was I've done it many times by the Rebbe? I don't pay attention what the Rebbe made.
No, because the Shmuel could never made Havdalah a million times.
I remember every time
But not in front of people.
By the way, the story that Rabbi Zelickson said when the Rebbe didn't smell the besomim was in Tavshach Tes. You weren't around Tavshach Tes.
There was no videos.
Huh?
I was 3 years old.
There wasn't videos either.
Some of them were not too many videos. Yeah, Tavshach Tes.
And if there are, but you know how many got lost and ruined?
Right.
Most of the videos that they had were could not be improved.
Yes, Ad Kedei Kach, a lot of videos cannot be improved.
Yeah. They still have them, but they have fuzzy and they're this. Once after a certain point, it goes ice.
Yeah.
Sure, that's why they always say that they're against time. They're battling against time to save the videos. Yeah. They don't have money.
Videotapes, just regular videotapes if you're sitting in the shelf.
Yeah, it goes bad.
And the old ones, those old.
I don't know which ones are
You have
worse.
to use it. You don't use it, it's
Dry up.
Something happens to it.
Something
Like
happens.
the Sony.
Oh, my. The old Adasa. Okay, so let's continue. So again, the Alter Rebbe says a person who can't smell, or he could smell, but he already made Boidim Besomim. He already made Boidim Besomim. You have to do it again. You have to say Boidim Besomim a second time. But it sounds like from the Alter Rebbe, if he's making Havdalah a second time, and he's gonna make and he's gonna plan to smell, then he's allowed to make it. Then there's no problem. That's what it sounds like from the Alter Rebbe, pretty clearly, right?
Yeah, because we say you could make Havdalah a few times to people.
It's interesting over here.
Talking here about the trial of chain of brocha, right?
Huh?
You're asking.
No, I'm saying the Alter Rebbe says that a person already did Havdalah and he's doing it a second time, so he can't make Boidim Besomim unless he's planning to smell. But it sounds like if he's planning to smell, then there's no problem to make it. There's no problem at all. It sounds like I'm just in the Chelek Aleph and Samar Reshut Gimel in the new Shulchan Aruch from the Alter Rebbe. He writes in the footnotes here. Here the Alter Rebbe says that in order for a brocha to be one person should make and everyone should be part of it, you have to sit. But by Havdalah, our minhag is to stand. So how could one person make a brocha and everyone is yotzeh? How could you do such a thing? So Alter Rebbe answers that because it's not bichsanenim, mamish, it's because it's kein choiva. Because Chazal said to do it. Matam zagama bichsarech, shon say Shabbos. Poiter echas chavere shelo bishkivi yus yeshiva. Afilu merichum zaka zeh, afilu shlo b'shas Havdalah. Even they're not one passing around the some box. So l'choyre, they're not sitting, but because it's like a mitzvah, so that's considered like a kviyus. Because Tosfos says to sit, but the Ashkenazim stand.
It's only like a sitting, but not the ever you still be yotzeh.
In order to have kviyus.
Yeah, it's only like a chila.
Okay, so it's lechatchila, but the Alter Rebbe is saying something. Alter Rebbe is saying that even though we're all standing, but one person can make word of besomim for everyone because that's considered a kviyus because it's like a mitzvah. In the Oris he says here, the Oris is not from the Alter Rebbe, from Rabbi Bet 11, the librarian. He writes, and that's if he didn't make Havdalah for himself. But if he already made Havdalah for himself, so that's it. You already made if you already made Havdalah for yourself, so now you're ready. Now you can't, right? But he's obviously wrong. But the Alter Rebbe here clearly says that you could. If you're making the brocha, you can't. But if you're planning to smell it, you could. If you're planning to smell it, you could. Even though l'chayr it's a contradiction, here the Alter Rebbe says that the besomim of besomim is only for pleasure. It's bichsanen. Over there he says it's bichsa mitzvahs. But I don't think it's a kashayla b'chlal. Over there he's talking of lagabe. What makes us glues this whole together? What makes us aguda achas? What makes aguda achas? As far as what makes aguda achas, because everyone's sitting by Havdalah, like Tosfos says. Ashkenazim say the fact that we're all doing. Chazal said to do a mitzvah, to do Havdalah, that makes us aguda achas. That makes us glued together. So for this, it's considered that we're glued together. But lagabe, this question of making the brocha for someone else, which is a question of brocha vatala, brocha shenatzicha. So over there, I can't make a besomim of besomim if I'm not planning to smell myself. Lagabe this shaila, we say it's considered bichsanenim. Lagabe that shaila, we'd say it's considered bichsa mitzvahs.
It's a mitzvah and you divide it.
Right. Okay, let's continue. Again, summarize. Alter Rebbe says that lagabe this shaila.
I'm not following it.
The Alter Rebbe is saying that when it comes to making the brocha, I have to smell the besomim. I'm not smelling the besomim. Right. There's no way to do it other way. He says why? Because it's bechas hanen, it's not bechas mitzvahs. Here, he says in Simon Reshut Gimel, he says that what's the glue that we're considered kviyus, even though we're not sitting. Arvus. So he does say kol yisrael arim
but that's maybe that's the three of that one, not the one. Not the
he says it beferish besomim. Void shebichas oir eni kebichsanen namish ke'ano ken choive umitam zagam bichsadech shemetzoy Shabbos poiter echas chavere shelo b'kviyas yeshiva. So I'm saying because it's a different thing. Right. Over there, what glues us together? What makes aguda echas? Last is the return of Ichashim b'Shemayim. Why are we all standing here together? Because we want to do what Chazal said to make Havdalah with besomim of besomim, besomim eish. So that glues us all together. But then when lagabe making a brocha, what Chazal said the only way you could make a brocha by bichsanen if you're planning to eat it or smell it yourself. So he's saying that also lagabe besomim you can't, even though it's really a mitzvah, you have to smell it yourself. I'm saying it's not a contradiction from what the Alter Rebbe says there to here. Aval bichas besomim eish. But the brocha besomim eish yochel levarach lahem, he could make it to them. Aval b'she'ein tzarich levarach lehem b'shvil ha'atzmai, even though he doesn't need to make it for himself. I can make besomim eish for other people if they don't know how to make the brocha, because besomim eish is not for the pleasure. To commemorate that the fire was created Motzei Shabbos K'mo Sheizbar, as will be explained in the next siman, the Rechatz. If it's not like Bechzanen.
Could make that.
That would not be a
But
shayla.
you can understand that Borei Meoreh Esh, you can see the fire. To make a bracha and besomim, you cannot see the sun, but it doesn't have any effect. Here, light
Until you
is the
smell it.
effect.
Right. Okay, but יש חלק מהזה, those that argue on this. Even though Bodem Eish was not for the pleasure of the person, it'll be explained soon that you're not obligated to get it. If you have the fire, you make Bodem Eish. You have some, you make Bodem Besomim. You're not obligated to run after it. The vikach ein brocha zu dem lebichs mitzvahs mipnei shein choyve. So therefore, it's not considered to all the other bichs mitzvahs that are mamish choyve. Therefore, loch levorach is misha yotza kva yidei chibos kedei lo yitzachenu shlo yitzadayim yidei chibosim k'mo shezbo mitzvah mekuf samach zayin. Only those mitzvahs which is a choyve you could make for other people. That's this opinion. So therefore, because of this svara, of this opinion, which is maybe the svara of Ben Afraim, which is one of the Baal HaTosfos, and that might be his opinion. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe Paskins tell lochish levrem shlo lekonik besofik brocha vatola, not to go on to sofik brocha vatola. So therefore, what should you do if you're making Havdalah for the second time for people who don't know? So for Bodei Minib Samim, smell it a second time. Bodei Mereish, just don't make the brocha. There's nothing to do.
And why is it in this video something about
Why is it a bracha levatola? Oh, the truth is he does say bracha levatola. Before I was telling you that, he does say bracha levatola. Why is it bracha levatola? Because it's
Mataldi, there's no water in there, it's a charcoal. If there's water in the cup and they make charcoal, why is that? It's
yeah, but Chazal will mataken to make once a week Motzei Shabbos Bodei Mereish, and you made twice. And now the shaila is maybe this is considered bichsa mitzvahs, maybe not.
Mitzvahs like no.
Sorry, my next shackle, we're going to answer Amri.
You brought it, you opened it,
And you drink it.
and no, but maybe now I have someone to.
Like mitzvahs like no.
Gotta get someone to.
Loyla on this net. Loyla on this net. Mitzvahs loyla on this net.
It'd be interesting to have a show. What's the
Yeah.
They're not clear.
Well, it's true. It's a big shackle vataya. What's levatola? What's shein tzricha? And even the bracha levatola, is it really the eraisa? Is it not the eraisa?
Yeah, because you're not taking a shent in vain. You're making shvat. Like all these piyutim and you see these feelers at the kivrei tzaddikim. They have unasoif askar Shem Hashem. So it's like a bakosha.
Right.
Mechadesh, you could just make it up.
Somebody showing him held that we say every suffix bracha, amen. That you don't make a bracha besofik. But there's somebody showing him that held that no. Why? What's the problem? It's covered Shemayim. A suffix bracha, make it a second time.
Oh.
Suffix bracha, make it again.
Oh, so the
But we don't pass it that way. We don't pass it. The Kivege brings it, and Dafyud Beis and brachas, a list of all these Rishonim, 2-3 Rishonim, we find some here, from there.
Wow.
But we don't hold that way. Lo halacha.
In other words, that because Suffolk bracha is the rice, since a bracha is a deraisa, you don't even come to a shayla.
Right.
It becomes a Suffolk deraisa if the bracha
Right.
is the
Yeah. We look at it that way, even though be'emes
It's probably not.
it's mistama not. I think it's just a covered Shem Shemayim. Probably that's what it's all about.
You have this every night, all these leftovers?
Why ask you so many questions?
I'm asking you a question because if I go now, I don't want to get addicted, and then tomorrow I'll be eating it up all week.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But still, the poskim are very, very strict about it. That's why they say Safar Barachas L'Hakol. Somebody showing him say, what's Safar Barachas L'Hakol? Why shouldn't you say again? You have a Safar, say the bracha again. It's all covered Shemayim. The Bakiva Ege brings in Dafyud Beis and brachas, a list of the Rishonim that hold that way. But we don't pass the Shulchan that way. They say, what do you mean? Have a Safar? Make it over again. Go for Kavod Shemayim, he doesn't mean it's against Kavod Shemayim.
First years I was in Sydney. I came like a month before Pesach.
Schnitzel or hamburger?
And I put sign all over the place. I'm making a seder, public seder.
So I'm saying the Havamina is, I guess the Poskim were very machmir in this thing of Shem Shemayim.
So that's the first. So by the first course, I put the bottles and everything. We need like 24 hours before Pesach to make the seder and everything. And everybody stand up and I sing with them and
I don't think anyone really holds. There's even the poskim that say that Minatoira, they might, that means it's like a strong lotion. They might not really mean it, they don't necessarily.
Yiddish and stuff. I'm going to song. One more song, a story, a song. Go a little bit with the Agoda, second cup. Okay, everybody fill up the cup. Shaviot Yain. They finish the whole thing. Here I am, standing one of 100 people. Only me, I have wine, they have no wine. What I do, you know? I don't have a rope to ask me what to do. You're losing your pants.
What happened?
Everybody listen to me.
Hey, start again.
The first years I came to Sydney, it was 1 month before Pesach, and we made the public seder. We're expecting like 35 people, 40 people, you know, Israelis, they came like 100. We made the place and everything, we put the wine and everything on the table. So I started saying in Hebrew, and I told everybody to fill up the cup, and we start, and then we sing a little bit, and I say a story, and another song. Finally we get to the second cups, you know, I say everybody to fill up. They sing me to be all the eye, then yain. They finish the whole thing. We didn't have, you know. Today when the Bochum go into Shlichus, they teach them. You don't put all the wine in there. You put only very little food in the beginning. You put one sample in the... You don't have all this.
It's yours. Can you eat it next week? I don't care. Let's make a brocha.
You told me already, you sat with shit, right?
Not the chicken. The chicken is the one.
Did they do the shek or the shemla from the shek?
I was there one time. I told them to take it off.
Yeah,
We
sure.
are
Listen.
good people. Why?
I saw what hot dogs goes into hot dogs.
We do the chicken. It's Ivy Fasas.
They put it on?
By the goyish hot dogs, they want
Oh, you're gonna have
you
to
know.
No, I never.
We haven't, you'll see.
They put it on?
They
The leftover. Also the Jewish one.
while the Elaine, I guess while the rabbi taught,
Technology is so good.
they have the shrine
They
on.
take a cow,
Then when it comes
put
to
her back.
Muslims, they take it off again.
It had to come out, and the cow is still alive and could eat it one day. What we do, we need to move people. I go outside to get big.
It's not, it should be.
It's not here.
Right.
I'm trying to think.
Remove them.